Welcome to the Akademisk Boldcast, the official Akademisk Bold Club podcast, in which we dissect the team's latest performances in the Bold Breakdown, explore the individual insights of the playing, coaching, and executive personnel through exclusive interviews in the Owl's Nest, plus look ahead at the team's calendar and provide a preview of its future foes. I am your host, Sean Cabrera, and in today's feature, we will be diving into the thrillers of match weeks 5 and 6 when the Academics had to go toe-to-toe with some top-tier titans of the Danish second division, Vendsyssel and Næstved, two teams that at the time of this recording would be qualifying for the promotion round alongside your guys in green and white. Now, alongside me for this bold breakdown is a name you may be quite familiar with, considering that his name is often accredited toward the closing sequences, of course, of each broadcast. It's Liam Quigley-Alvarez, who helps co-produce all these matches, all these live streams. So Liam, let me thank you for always being a part of that team, for helping me always manage those sorts of things. Again, behind the scenes, it's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome. I really liked your use of alliteration with the top tier Titans and toe to toe. Big fan. Big fan. And thank you for the shout outs. I feel like, the live streams are like my baby, but they're your thing because I hear your voice and it makes it so much better. So we're a good team,
wow, I think. Yes, absolutely.
And here we are again, podcasting.
Here we are. Look at us. Look at us.
Yeah, look at us. Who'd have thunk?
So now let's talk about that first trial of fire that AB had to endure in that match at Gladsaxe Stadion, of course, home of Vendsyssel, who, of course, were going through their own sort of tribulations considering what had happened in their last campaign.
Yeah, so they had just been relegated down to the second division. A fact that was pretty noticeable as soon as you rolled up to the stadium, like the facilities are nice. You got a stadium with stands on all sides, right? It feels, I have to assume that's what it feels like to roll up to Gladsaxe Stadium, right? So this is a big stage, it's a big pitch, it looks nice. It was intimidating, you're going into a team that is going to try and play some ball. They want to get back up to the first division, and they're up in the north of Jutland. It was a cold, kind of windy night. There was a lot of aura, a lot of scariness. It felt like a big match, and it was.
It absolutely was, considering that, again, these two teams are currently battling within the realm of the top six. Again, this is looking at it now that we're in the winter break. But let's talk about what happened during match week 5. And we could even provide a preview to that just to show that despite the different philosophies of these two teams, they surprisingly had a lot in common. And I want to start first with how they use their non-Danish players. So Liam, I'm going to throw you a trivia question, and those listening at home or wherever you may be, feel free to answer. But the question is this. From spots 1 to 12 in the league, Akademisk Bold Club and Vendsyssel would find themselves in which of those spots when it came to giving non-Danish players minutes on the field before match week 5?
Okay, interesting. Well, I can name off our players, but I don't know. There's two. I know they had just signed a couple international players. I'm gonna say that Vendsyssel is number 1 because I can think of a couple. Like the only players of theirs that I really remember are international, and I'm gonna say us at 2.
Okay, is that your final answer?
That is my final answer. 1, 2, AB number 2.
And is that your final answer to the listener, wherever you may be? I'll take that as a yes, considering that now this kind of feels like Dora the Explorer, where I'm waiting for you to reply. The final answer is this. Liam, you get partial credit because AB, before match week 5, was in fact in first place when it came to giving non-Danes playing time. So not bad. And Vendsyssel was, I suppose, in second place when it came to giving non-Danes some playing time. Now, let's also look at the modern day, middle of the winter break. If we're going to apply the same question in this context, where would you expect AB and Vendsyssel to be?
I'm going to say that AB is at number 1. I think that AB is number 1. Vendsyssel, I don't know if they've sold players. I have no idea what's happening. I'm going to say 1, 2. I'm going to say 1, 3. AB at number 1. Vendyssel's gone down to number 3.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer. Locking it in.
Oh, you're locking it. Liam, I hate to say it. So you're right with AB. First place AB does find itself in there when it comes to
Oh,
giving non-Danish players some minutes.
cool.
However, your first intuition, your first guess was correct with Vendsyssel. It is, in fact, still in second place when it comes to
Okay.
that specific stat. So you're not far off. You did say third. Just more of, a little bit of trivia to get the brain going. Just a little bit.
Get the brain cooking. Yeah. Cool. So that's a cool stat. It's it's one of my favorite things about AB is the international kind of nature of it. I love that there's guys from different places, and I've gotten to learn so much about Icelandic food and I've been able to have lots of cool chats with the players. They're all from different countries, but I love the fact that it's like you know seeing the cultures blend, and I love the fact that AB is the most international team by minutes
Right.
in our division, but also feels like a very traditional Danish club. I really like that.
Yes, and it's rooted in its history since the 1880s. I mean, its name quite literally does imply, or if we were to literally translate it into English, it would be the Academic Ball Club, right? Just for a literal translation, a very rough one at that. It was rooted in its history that essentially anybody who was willing to partake in that culture of intellectualism, could participate in this club in its history. And we still see it today, even though that's progressed more into the modern game naturally, right? The thing that we see here, of course, is that Akademisk Boldclub is unafraid and, in fact, is very welcoming of international players. I mean, you mentioned the Icelandic foods that you've tried. I imagined with the likes of Adam Benediktsson, with Ayrjal Jonasson, and I'm sure with your compatriot Ovante Mullings. Some things do feel at home there as you fist pump there.
Oh yeah,
There's silence, but there was a fist pump. I promise people.
there
But
was.
but
Go
yes,
Canada.
I mean, let's not talk about the Olympics just yet. But hey,
Oh
going back to the previous point, it just goes to show that AB prides itself in that ability to translate, or rather utilize, all these international backgrounds onto one Danish team, one Danish profile. And I suppose we can continue, of course, with the last similarities between VFF and AB, because AB was coming back from a stinging 3-2 loss versus Teasdale. That one at home, may I add. That one added an extra sting, and it had to learn some lessons in regards to its midfield, as well as some contests in the air, as we had discussed in the last episode. Meanwhile, Vendsyssel was also taking notes about how it struggled to generate efficiency, which in this case, it refers to shots on target, despite outshooting as a whole Roskilde in a 2-0 shutout loss. That's the important part to take into account. Both teams were learning their own lessons and their own facets. In summary, VFF when it came to its offense, AB when it came to its midfield, and when it came to battling balls in the air.
yeah, I think that's a really good way to kind of get into this match. Those storylines were not lost on anybody. I don't think going into the game, right? Like it felt like a big match. It felt like one where AB needed to like kind of shake off the demons of losing in a stinging way. And Vendsyssel is on a kind of a back-to-back match weeks of playing against some top-tier opponents. And that was that. Yeah, again, it was not lost on anybody, and it played like that. It played like two teams that were desperate and hungry to show each other who's number one.
Now, when we're looking at their overall philosophies, not to change the subject too abruptly, there is a stark contrast between the two teams. That ultra aggressive offensive approach is what gave AB the advantage in the first place. That causes a lot of stir, and it can cause a lot of bewilderment in VFF's defensive third, despite having 5 players in the back. And considering that we've tossed around the word aggressive, if not ultra aggressive, I think it's a very apt adjective to describe what went on within the opening 10-ish minutes or so, because the first shot to occur was an inside the box cross-body shot from Ayrjal Jonasson when his effort skidded inches away from the post. Now, Vendsyssel wasn't too far away when just 5 minutes later, give or take, it had 3 opportunities to punish Adam Benediktsson. Yet somehow they didn't, all thanks, arguably, to the effort of the teen titan, Noah Ibsen. I mean, the guy practically devoured 2 shots from point blank range, and it just goes to show his defensive instinct alongside his youthful energy, practically celebrating his blocks at the end of that sequence.
Yeah, they were a huge moment. of the game, right? It ended up being a game that was defined by big moments from players who stepped up, and that was, no different from a goal. I mean, he ate two shots that, who knows where they're going, right? And yeah, just as important for him as scoring a goal. He kept the team into the game in the game for sure, and yeah, it was a huge reason why the score stayed 0-0 going into the 20th minute.
Now, here's the important thing to take into account, because there was just a moment after that triple block sequence. Now, note that two of them were officially accredited to Noah Ibsen, but still, it's worth giving him that credit. Resuming, or at least fast forwarding just a minute, give or take, VFF should have made it 1-0 when a cross along the ground found its way about 4.5 yards in front of goal. But a poor redirection shot at the near post caused the sphere to barely soar over the crossbar itself, and that was a lucky break for AB.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people in the stadium would have been thinking it would be VFF 1 AB 0. And again, it was a game that was characterized, and the narrative of this game is going to be entirely driven by these big moments, and who capitalized on what. They missed their chance, and then we can get into it if you'd like right now on the other end of the pitch.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, AB needing to respond to VFF's high press. AB took note of this, and eventually it was in the 28th minute of action, while Vendsyssel's backline was readjusting itself. Ball was being battled in the middle third. It was Mikkel Brunn, whose sonic ears, or supersonic ears, almost Superman-like, heard Markus Emerson's requests to launch a Route 1 ball. And so he, behind the halfway line, sent a lob that glided through the air. It was supposed to land on the edge of the penalty area, yet right before it could, Markus Emerson from just outside the box struck one of the club's goal of the season contenders when his first touch was thumped into the far post's bottom corner. And Liam, for me, it's one of the best goals of the Danish second division, or the season itself, let alone that of Akademisk Boldclub.
Yeah, Sean, I've never seen a better goal in person. It was ridiculous. I mean, like you said, VFF has started at this point of the match to like engage in this high press, getting guys up the field and pressing them. And Mikkel Brunn spots this pass. He delivers this big lobbing ball over the back line, spotted brilliantly. That was like a great read, exactly what needs to happen. Go direct against the press. Don't let them get anything from you. He goes over the top. We see where these formations kind of collide again, the 4-4-2 for the 5-3-2, right?
Exactly.
Emerson finds this gap between their left center back and central center back, while they're kind of, I don't know, reshuffling. They were a bit clumsy, and he finds this gap, and meets this ball like Pablo Picasso painting. I don't even know. I don't know how to say more precise, because that's like abstract, isn't it? I don't know. It
No,
was
you can
beautiful. It was he, right before it touches the ground. The ball's about to hit the ground. He strikes it so pure. It curves. It goes into the that back post. Man, what a goal!
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. I know we talked about it off air and how it was a graceful volley. That was really
Oh
the
yeah,
term that was being tossed around. But the fact that it was hit so perfectly right before the ball would hit the ground, because that's the hardest part, that
yeah,
whilst
yeah.
he had
On the
both feet
volley.
off the ground, too, when you look at
Yeah.
it in slow motion, both feet just off the ground, it's just that sweet contact that he made. It left everybody in shock, the goalkeeper included, who was practically left standing still. And Liam, I'm sure you could also testify, in addition to that, that the crowd was left stunned.
It was shocked. I mean, I was freaking out along with the rest of the AB fans. We were going ballistic. But that was, it was a crowd silencer, right? They missed their chance, and we go and score. It was exactly what AB needed, was a moment like that. Well spotted by Brunn and well taken by Markus Emerson. You couldn't have asked for a better goal. It'll be a goal of the year candidate for sure. I will probably be voting for it, even though we've seen quite a few great ones.
I was just thinking about that. I'm not sure if there are many in the campaign itself along the Danish second division that could really stand face to face with that goal. It really will be tough to at least topple it, in my opinion. It is possible, but it will be tough. We have seen some great AB goals throughout the campaign, but this one was simply one of beauty. And speaking of which, the offensive party didn't stop there. AB did generate some chances, especially from set pieces in that first half, to the surprise of many, considering that that was a weakness just a couple weeks before. Suddenly, AB is keeping their foot on VFF's neck, keeping their foot on the gas pedal. But alas, it still ended as a 1-0 first half. Now, the second half, Liam, was a totally different story because 2 minutes into that period, VFF responded and responded well on the scoreboard, utilizing eventually that high press, or eventually successful high press, to win back the ball in the AB half, which was a problem in the first half every now and then. But they struck gold. They pushed the ball toward the right wing. In came a grounded cross, like the one mentioned earlier that was from 4.5 yards out. Except this time, the sliding effort did find its way into the back of the net.
Yeah, this is VFF came out of halftime like a team that was had something to prove, and they out the gates got a goal. Their high press worked. They worked the ball well. They got the cross through and capitalized on that opportunity. They drew the game level, and it's hard to say they didn't deserve it. You always knew this game was going to have more than one goal in it. A clean sheet would have been a lot to ask against in this kind of situation. And unfortunately, Sean, it didn't end there for AB, which it felt like moments later, but what it was actually about 10 minutes later, VFF gets another on some chaos in the box. And all of a sudden, this game that was characterized by a magnificent goal from Marcus Emerson and an amazing road performance from AB ends up really quickly turning into, oh my God, we're down 2-1. We want to win this game. We need to win this game. And it's time to claw our way back into it.
Yeah, I mean, you said it yourself in the 62nd minute, to be precise there. Corner kick situation. Again, nothing new in the first weeks of AB's campaign. The initial aerial duel was won by Vendsyssel, and then the second ball was headed away by an academic, but it was all in vain. It ended up being reserved inside the 18-yard box. In came a volley at point blank range, and there again, Vendsyssel with a 2-1 lead. And you see it again, how these situations come back to haunt the academics as they struggle to contain those dangerous rebounds within their own 18-yard box, all originating, of course, from a dead ball set piece.
It was no surprise that a lot of people were thinking, we're seeing ghosts from the match previous against Thistle, which is just a team struggling with the dead ball and the chaos in the box. Luckily, that wasn't going to be what defined this game for AB. The match continued. I think that this showed so much character from the club in that we concede these 2 goals. We go down. We're losing once again. We're losing, and it's happened again. It's in the same way as against Thistle. A team with less character. You can't blame a team that would struggle with that, starting to lose away from home, far away, windy, rainy, cold night, far away from home, and you start losing in a way that you were losing previously. But AB wasn't going to let that happen.
No, because instead of losing steam, that's the important part. Instead of losing steam, the academics used their anger, like what Palpatine told Anakin in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. They used their anger to focus, and within 2 minutes, were able to equalize the game when Ovante Mullings swarmed, of course, by several white jerseys on the penalty arc, desperately poked the ball forward to Marcus Emerson, who in turn redirected it to the unoccupied left-hand side, where Jonathan Mattis was ready to finish with a sprinting right-footed one-timer from a wide angle.
These are some great finishes, folks. Like, let's get you on my AB and let's watch these highlights, because this game for AB was characterized by, again, the big moments from the big players and some great finishes. Mathis took it perfectly. Some great, what am I trying to say? Some really, on your toes thinking from his forward compatriots. They got the ball to him, and he took his opportunity very well. Back into the game, 2-2, it's all to play for now, and it's going to be the team, who's shown the most character and the most grit, grind, and want to win. That's gonna come out on top in this one. And who knows who scores next? I don't know, Sean. You tell us.
AB, as the visitors, maintained their tenacious approach on both fronts of the contest, and there was a breakthrough to reward those efforts. What was once the weakness of AB turned into a match-deciding factor when a routine throw-in from VFF on the edge of its defensive third saw aggressive man-to-man marking from the Gladsaxe visitors. When that throw-in was released, Mikkel Brun's outstretched left leg did enough to scramble the plan and steer it away from its intended recipient. But his drive after the loose ball sealed the deal as he sprinted fast enough to play a close lateral to Mako Vesterholm. And it was upon his second touch that the architect, as we've dubbed him, delivered an inch-perfect pass to an unmarked Markus Emerson on the right edge of the penalty arc. After his first touch caressed the sphere, his second touch was a 17-yard ballistic missile that exploded into the back of the net. Plus, it gave Emerson his third goal contribution of the fixture. And most importantly, Akademisk Boldclub regained the lead once again with 10 minutes left, or a little bit over that.
Yeah, this was an amazing goal. It won't be remembered more than his other one, his first of the evening. But this goal meant everything to the team, and it really showed. I mean, we saw a great defensive play, some really smart play from Mikkel Brund to spot the threat and intervene. And then, if I remember correctly, I remember one of the nicest balls I've ever seen from a midfielder. Marco Vesterholm plays it through to over to Marcus Emerson, and it's exactly what you want to see out of your team, right? Getting late into the game, working hard to disrupt the opposing team's possession, and capitalizing quickly. Noticing that this ball can be played into your striker, fizzing that pass in. Emerson taking it perfectly well and finishing like a true striker's goal, right? High and to the right, if I remember.
Yes,
he buries it. Yeah, a great finish. It's a goal that it was encapsulates what the match was for AB.
That is exactly it. It was a hard-fought win and a hard-fought goal. And I'd like to interject here, Liam, that this is arguably amongst my favorite plays of the season. And I know it's not in its own right a goal of the season contender, like you said, with Emerson's volley from outside the box, all while jumping in the air, essentially, almost Wayne Rooney-esque for some throwback there. But the point is this. It's simply one of my favorites because it demonstrates AB's dominion of each layer of the game. It starts with an aggressive, picture-perfect tackle from Brunn, continues with a fantastic piece of distribution from Vesterholm, and it culminates in that brilliant finish from Emerson. Again, each facet in perfect motion and execution, and it really is something worth admiring from an analytical angle. In a way, this overall performance was a poetic response from the Owls when you take into account that they lost also their last game 2-3, never once having the lead in that match. Meanwhile, in this fixture, they won 3-2, securing their first comeback victory in league play.
Yeah, like you said, we can look into this analytically, and it was a beautiful, and we can use all the adjectives to describe how amazing this was as a performance, and how that goal encapsulates the team. You can also really dumb it down, and when I look at it, I love to look at it in this way, which is that in the 77th minute, we're getting tired, and who wanted it more, right? AB wanted it more, and we're on the road. We got a long road trip to get there, a long road trip back. Stung from the game before, we're losing quickly out of halftime in this match, and it was as simple. You can look at it as simple as wanting it more, right? Those moments were up for grabs, and our players took them, and it was awesome to watch. Like it was one of those games that was just, it felt amazing to, you're so proud of the team, right? Because it's a game that, maybe once you're down 2-1 away from home, you don't want to say you never want to count out a team, but you'd be forgiven for saying, we let this one slip maybe, but we lost away from home to Vendsyssel, right? No, like that was not the story, and that was not how these players were going to take it. And they proved it in this last goal. They wanted it more, 77th minute.
And you could also aggregate that there was an additional element of irony, in this case, irony in favor of AB, because it was a set piece drill. At the end of the day, a throw-in, what led to AB's win, thanks to Brun's marking, that again led to Emerson's second goal of the match after weeks of struggle in that regard, in that element of the game. And to, I suppose, dive into the post-match numbers, there is some overlap with the pre-match numbers because there were a lot of similarities between these two. I mean, almost identical shots attempted, as well as shots on target, nearly even possession, as well as expected goals for those that love stats or those specific stats. But you want to know what the key difference was in this triumph, Liam, as well as to the listener?
Let's hear it.
It's in spite of the fact that AB's second conceded goal, if you remember, was from that chaotic corner kick situation, and it was another aerial duel lost, essentially. AB had a successful aerial duel rate at the end of the day, and it contributed in that endeavor because just the week prior, it was winning 40% of those aerial duels. In this match, more than 55% of them. So there was a drastic improvement in that department, and it cut off a viable tactic for Vendsyssel.
I think, as good as AB has been playing, you look at, how we lost games, how we've conceded goals, and you say, well, yeah, like the losing out on these aerial duels maybe is a weakness for the team. And I think what the truth is, from what I consider it, well, I think AB is perfect. So, but when you want to be critical about, what's happening, and I don't think you can exactly say, is AB a weak team on set pieces, on the dead ball. Like I don't think that's the truth. I think that these players and this team is very well rounded. It's hard to score against us from open play. We like to dominate the ball. When we don't have the ball, we're gonna press you. We like to attack. And sometimes it's hard to make chances count. And on top of that, our goalkeeper has made countless numbers of like one-on-one saves, last kind of gasp saves throughout the season, right? The goals that we've conceded that have stung the most have been these chaos goals off of headers in the box, right? Where the ball doesn't bounce our way and someone else gets a foot on it. Yeah, like can AB clean that up? For sure, right? Like, is it going to be, maybe the weakest part of the game? Like, I don't know. It's not exactly for me to decide. But I think it might be, this goal, this win here shows that the truth isn't like AB bad at throw in, like,
Right.
because here is AB directly punishing a team by being better off of defending a throw in, no matter where on the pitch, right? We generated a chance out of nothing because Mikkel Brund and Marco Westerholm were positioned in a way to defend a throw in well, right?
Overall, this win was just as impressive as it was important with all that provided context and with what you were saying, Liam. And it provided much needed momentum for AB heading into match week 6 when it was scheduled to face Næstved BK. But before we dive into that, I'd like to remind the audience that this bold breakdown has been brought to you by Myriad 360. Myriad 360 is a trusted global IT solutions partner for high-growth tech companies and enterprise innovators, delivering best-in-class solutions across cybersecurity, modern data center, networking, cloud, and AI. Visit myriad360.com for a complimentary strategy session. Now, Liam, remember earlier how we talked about the notable raw similarities between AB and VFF?
I remember very fondly, like it was only an hour ago.
Okay, less than an hour ago, but I
Less than, yeah.
digress. You could say the same about the attacking philosophies this time and recent results of AB and Næstved. In addition to being amongst the top 3 competitors with respect to possession in the opposition's third, let alone half, by that match week, again, these are teams that like to play practically in your backyard. Both clubs did and still do pride themselves on their uncanny ability to frequently craft shots from those sustained keepaways. and are also the leaders of this statistic from Matchweek 6 to right now during the winter pause. This is a team, or these are teams, that know how to control the ball in the opposite half.
Yeah, I mean, Nashville's the type of club that likes to play the game and what they think is the right way. Very very possession driven. They like their short passes. They want to play a pretty game and they want to put the ball. They want to pass the ball into your net, and they have quality to do that, which is why they're in third place and why they're vying for promotion. AB is a team that I think the philosophy is attack, attack, attack. They're the highest scoring club in the division, and at a period in time, I think through Matchweek 16, of all Danish leagues, was the highest scoring team in the country. Through Matchweek 16, I believe that is accurate. I mean,
That's
obviously,
about right.
Superliga resumes before us, so now there are clubs with more goals. But AB, is a team that likes to attack and score goals, and we're good at doing that on the break. We're good at doing that with sustained possession too, right? We're similar to Næstved. We like the ball. I think we like the ball because we have the quality in our players, means that we can keep it. I think maybe more unfairly than other teams, right? We have the quality to keep it. Their philosophy is to have the ball and make it look nice, right? I don't think there's anything nice about our football. I think it's like take a knife and stab it, and just go, like get, it's aggressive, and I like that.
I never really thought of it that way. Me personally, I always thought there was a touch of elegance. So this is
There is certainly
this is
is,
a
but you
newfound
can,
view.
yeah, there certainly is elegance. I mean, you watch players like Marco Vesterholm and Marco Remkilde and Noah Engel. These guys are silky smooth on the ball, right? And they make the right decisions, and the way they turn defenders is mesmerizing. But when I think of AB's attack, I think of pure efficiency and excellence. I think of guys like Jonathan Mathis. He can make it look pretty if he wants, but what he's going to do is he's going to score a goal every game, right? It doesn't matter how it looks. Marcus Emerson's going to make his appearances, whether he's starting or off the bench, he's gonna score you goals. Ovante Mullings, right? Direct. We're talking, a team that uses its possession in an aggressive way.
I think now I see where we have our little, let's say, dichotomy here, because you see the
Mm-hmm.
cold-blooded efficiency as something just raw and brutal, and I see it, I guess, a little more from a poetic standpoint, I suppose.
Right, a little
But
calculated.
but we agree. But we agree that it's
Yes,
that
yeah, of
cold-blooded
course.
efficiency that really drives forward the team. And speaking of cold-blooded efficiency, considering how it played a role in that last game, especially from Marcus Emerson, who scored a brace, Mikko Brunner as well, even though playing as a fullback, got himself involved in 2 goals essentially. We were talking about the similarities between these two teams, and it doesn't stop there at just their ability to possess the ball in the opposition's half, because both teams were also respectively returning from mentally taxing fixtures in which they had to overcome single goal deficits. Now, of course, I'm referring to AB having to come back from a 2-1 deficit for the 3-2 win. Meanwhile, De Grune, as they're also nicknamed in reference to Næstved BK, they had to surmount a 1-0 deficit after it conceded within the initial 2 minutes from an edge of the box strike. Eventually, just for that context, a penalty to the left side of the net, a header to the back of the net, both of those combined gave them the lead, and a second half left-footed strike inside the box guaranteed that 3-1 win. Point still stands, however. When you're down in the scoreline, it's something that you need to surmount mentally first.
Yeah, and that was away to VSK Aarhus, right? That was
Yes.
another performance that would have taken a lot of kind of guts, right? One of these you have to really kind of dig deep. You go down early, you got to make the comeback.
Yeah, less than
Yeah,
120 seconds in. Naturally, there has to be a little bit of a mental rebound regarding those situations.
yeah, of course. So we're looking at two teams coming into this match who like to have the ball, to like to dominate possession, like to attack, and are coming off of these little like mental springboard wins, right? That comebacks, that you get the 3 points on the board, but they carry more weight to them.
I like that term, springboard win. That is very apt to how these two teams were responding to their respective burdens. And I suppose we could dive straight into the match itself, in fact, because this overall Now, you may be looking at the full-time result, which if you are, why are you giving yourself spoilers? This is the point of the podcast. But secondly, the more important aspect is that this was really a push and pull sort of game in which both teams generated fantastic opportunities. I mean, one of the most important chances occurred arguably right before the completion of the 9th minute. AB had the breakaway, a close to one-on-one opportunity in which the goalkeeper was forced to exit his 6-yard box. He was able to smother the ball essentially with his knees sliding toward the striker's feet to keep it a scoreless game at that point. Næstved wasn't too far away in terms of its responses, especially considering that right before the half-hour mark, circa the 27th minute, it launched another missile. I know we've been using that word a lot today, but it really did launch one that ricocheted off the crossbar. And luckily for Adam Benedictson, he was able to keep the game scoreless by just repositioning himself afterward. But the fact that it hit the crossbar first goes to show something that Næstved can play just as viciously as Akademisk Boldclub.
A game of missed chances up until that point. I mean, Marcus Emerson, hot as a match, right? I don't know.
Yes.
What's that phrase? Whatever.
I catch you. I catch your meaning.
Yeah, he's coming off a match with 3 goal contributions, 2 amazing finishes, and he gets snuffed out. Back to the match, he gets snuffed out by the goalkeeper inside the box, and then AB is a little fortunate to be saved by the crossbar on a different day. Maybe this game goes entirely differently without the help of our trusty post.
Yeah, that's true. And it just, hey, every now and then, everybody needs a little bit of luck. Adam Benedictson, even with his titanic frame, would have not have been able to reach that ball. It was just simply really well struck from outside the penalty area. But it is one of those moments where it turns into a what if, especially as this game went along, because it just became more and more physical as it went on. These are two teams that love to play in the middle third, that love to play in the opposition's penalty area. And this tug of war wouldn't end or wouldn't cease until around the second portion of the second half of action, because we have to look at what happened in the 72nd minute. AB finally gets a piece of the ball, is finally starting to develop, has a bit of confidence, and eventually makes its way into the attacking third, right on the edge of the penalty area. It's Ovante Mullings who pulls the trigger from just the borderline of that 18-yard box and puts it right into the near post's bottom corner, beating the goalkeeper to that tight angle. It is a great goal by Ovante Mullings to give Akademisk Boldclub the lead in the first place.
Yeah, I think you described this game as a tug of war, which is a very, very good way to put it. And this is the type of game that needed, decided off of a bit of quality like this. If I remember, Marco Westerholm does well, but in fact, it's, I think, the Næstved player who gets a touch on it that pokes it over to Ovante Mullings, who gets the ball outside of the box, takes a touch onto his weak foot and just knows, got to strike it, got to hit this. And it's one of his sweetest strikes of the season, on his weak foot, driven and low, 2 defenders in the way, but neither of them can quite get to it. Goalkeeper gets down just too late, sneaks into the net. Maybe Næstved wants that one back, but it shifted the tide. It got a very well needed marker on the scoreboard, and it put 3 points in the hands of AB, which opened this game right up.
And I love that you added that was his weak foot. So imagine scoring with your weak foot, in this case, his left foot, edge of the 18-yard box, exactly on that fine line, and you beat the goalkeeper to such a tight, precious angle.
Yeah, you beat him with power and pace on the shot, right? You think, weak foot, edge of the box, you have to place that one in a corner somewhere, and he did, but really he struck this one so clean that there was, the goalkeeper would have had to go down so quick to get to it.
Exactly. It was just a gutsy attempt, and for Ovante Mullings, it would mark his second goal of the season, his first since that Brabant match. So a little bit of a not necessarily dry spell, considering that 2 goals in 6 match weeks, not bad at all, but still just something to take into account there for Ovante Mullings. In the 81st minute, a very bewildering situation occurred, I should say. It's something that you'll rarely ever get to see again. I can't believe I had the privilege of commentating it. I'll paint you the picture. Goalkeeper receives the ball inside his own 6-yard box. He goes to clear it. Somehow, it really is hard to describe how Marcus Imeson's head gets in the way. Marcus Imeson is on the edge of the penalty area. This goalkeeper's clearance is rather
in the
low.
box.
In the box. And you could tell that he's not even aiming to block it. Somehow he gets his head in the way. It's a loose ball suddenly up in the air. And who's there to slot it in? Noah Engel, who, as we know, is the reigning second division player of the season.
Check out the highlights because it's an odd one. But this is a one of those goals. You know, it's just you need some luck. You need some luck, and Marcus Emerson gets his head in the way, and not only does he block a clearance with his head, but it bounces straight down in front of him. Then this chaos ensues. The Noah Engel happens to be in front of it, and takes it off the volley while being tackled by the goalkeeper. Would have been a penalty if he didn't put it in the net.
Exactly.
He has just come back from injury, I believe, at this point. He hadn't featured in any AB matches for more than maybe I have no idea. He certainly was nursing an injury and had just come back to play some meaningful minutes in this match. Gets the ball right at his feet and throws it into the net. Calm as you'd like. 2-0. Seems like the points are in the bag. You need luck, you know.
And that's how he would score his first goal of the season. I have to admit, it is definitely amongst the strangest, let's say, opening goals for a player in terms of his campaign. It's certainly up there. I can't say I've seen many like that across all levels of professional soccer. But as you said, Noah Engel just right place, right time.
Right place, right time.
Marcus Emerson also happened to be in the right place, right time, getting himself another goal contribution.
Yeah.
Let's remember that, considering that in between those match weeks, he was on fire. So you have to give him a bit of love in that regard.
Yeah, and these are, you know, two kind of times where you just make your chances count, right? We've had our chances earlier, we didn't make them count. Ovante slots it in nicely, and a couple minutes later, we get some luck off of a goal kick, right? It seems like just one of those days for Næstved, but it wasn't the entire story. In fact, they come back and they look a lot more threatening in the next 5 minutes.
In minute 87 in particular, there was a breakaway where Adam Benediktsson was forced into a rather awkward angle because there were two Næstved players attacking on the same wing on the left-hand side. Naturally, he's outnumbered, and he's sprinting outside a 6-yard box, practically on the edge of his own 18-yard box. And it did take a wide touch around him, so it had to take something heroic from the back line to keep it a clean sheet game, at least on their behalf. And it's exactly what was done when the shot to the near post, as soon as he dribbled around Adam Benediktsson, who, may I add, had a stellar game, was a key factor in that match. We've neglected to mention some of his saves, but it just goes to show the type of game it was. He was outstanding in that game. In the one moment that he was caught out, it was his defense that came back to rescue him instead of the inverse for once, at least in this game. And that is very satisfying to see when you get to see that defensive chemistry between those two, let's call them units.
Yeah, well, this is 85th minute, 86th minute, and a goal from Næstved makes this a lot scarier. I don't know if we'll have to edit this out, but that's one of my favorite British phrases is squeaky bum time, when it's just last 10 minutes of the game, it's like, oh my God. No, this was a great play. I believe it was Adrian Kudelka who spots the danger, doesn't try to intercept the play, but instead runs back to his to the goal line and
to the near post
to the near post and clears the ball, clears the danger, and preserves AB's 2-0 lead.
AB itself wouldn't just be satisfied with a 2-goal lead. He's looking for a third to drive in the nail into the Næstved coffin, as the metaphor goes. And in this case, it was a clearance that turned into a lofted through pass because Marcus Emerson, completely onside, may I add, had the entire right flank to his disposal. So what does he do? He drives it uptown. He's looking for no pauses whatsoever. He's driving forward and forward and forward. From the right-hand side, a wide angle, may I add, almost adjacent to the corner kick flag. He crosses it along the ground. AB, in firm control, finds its way inside the 18-yard box And who is there to poke it into the back of the net? It's Noah Engel, completing his brace, getting his second goal in a row in that match, and Marcus Emerson, yet again, being involved on the scoreboard.
Yeah, we're looking at a goal in the 92nd minute that's completed by two players who are just willing to run harder. This ball is over Emerson's head in the 92nd minute, preserving a 2-0 lead. You know, a lot of people settle for the clearance. He chases it down, going almost to the edge of the 18, but on the far right flank. And then you see a little speck on your screen if you're watching. You see on the other side of the pitch, it's Noah Engel who's just running loose. He's just been like an uncaged animal, just hauling up the pitch completely on his own. He wants this goal so bad. Emerson plays this cross in. Mwah, chef's kiss, lovely, perfect. Engel has to deal with defenders tracking back, cuts in from a wide angle on the left side of the goal, squeezes it between a diving goalkeeper and a tracking back defender, kisses the right post. Perfect, beautiful. Can't say anything better. Seals the deal. Done. 3-0. Goodbye. See you later.
Now, of course, when you look at that scoreline, 3-0, upon first sight, one would probably think that it was a runaway from the start, but that is definitely not the case. Again, all these goals happened within the final 18 minutes of the game, but to add on to that sentiment, I suppose, it was still a close game when it was 2-0 at that point. It was still a back and forth game. It was just AB that found the luck to break the deadlock, which was something that they had to overcome. If you remember, the listeners, of course, and the first match weeks, like versus Helsinki, for example, versus Brabant, the main problem was offense, and it wasn't the creativity that was the problem. It was the lack of finishing. Here, one cannot say the same, as AB made sure to capitalize on each key opportunity in the most important moments of the match to secure a 3-0 victory at home. That is the important part. 2 home games in a row. Akademisk Boldklub was unable to find a win. Yet against Næstved, a top 6 opponent, arguably top 3 opponent, that's still a promotion favorite, you could argue, it was against that side that AB was able to find its first home victory of the campaign.
Yeah, and with 3 goals, right? Whether that scoreline actually is telling of what the story of the game was or not. Næstved showed up, they took 3 goals, and they went home. That's what I'm taking from this game, is that AB, the goal scoring machine, is kicked into gear now. It's 2 games in a row of 3 goals. It's cementing itself as a great attacking force in these matches, led by some brilliant performances from Marcus Emerson and Noah Engel coming back from injury. Jonathan Mathis is in the last match as well against Vendsyssel, performing very well. This is a match with a lot of storylines that woven throughout it, but a result that, whether deserving or not, is pretty, I believe, to be pretty accurate, because it is a match that AB took by the scruff of its neck at the 70th minute and proved that it had more guts into the 90th minute than Næstved. And maybe it was by the benefit of errors or whatever you want to say. There's no doubt that AB took a close game and made it their own.
And if we look at the post-match numbers as a whole, AB, and this is a rarity, was outpossessed by Næstved. Næstved nearly had 60% possession. AB just had a little bit over 40, but the point still stands. Almost 60, just a little over 40. It's not often you get to see AB in that sort of losing end when it comes to possession, but it came at the right price. That's the important part, because they were able to generate more shots than Næstved at the end of the day, having generated 13 in total in comparison to Næstved's 10. And then when you look at the goalkeeper saves as a whole as well, it was AB's Adam Benediktsson that had 5 versus Næstved's 4. That's another thing to take into account. AB knew what it had to sacrifice in order to get that key victory, a 3-point tally from a 3-goal win against a top 3 opposition. It's just poetic.
I have another stat for you from this match.
Tell me.
Because we talked about it, and Næstved had 60% of the possession. Can you tell me who conceded 100% of the goals?
I would
Right?
imagine it's Næstved.
Yeah. So this, not to, but like these are the stats that, ultimately, or what's the only stat that matters? Well, I don't know. We can go into all the stats. I like to think stats matter. So do lots of people, but this is a game that I like to look at the final score of, whether it was whatever the story, because they had to, live with conceding 3 to us. I think it was a game where we proved ourselves, and they realized, getting in their bus on the way back, that they have come up against a very good team. They probably think it was just out of reach if certain things had gone differently, but they didn't, right? And the truth is, AB scored 3 goals, and the train is back on the rails. The last game was train back on the rails. Things are straightening out, but now it's starting to, we're picking up speed. This is the start of the real push for the top of the table.
And in order to push for the top of the table, you need a reliable locker room leader that can hold the team accountable to that standard. So, without further ado, let's flock to the Owl's Nest for an interview with Vice Captain Søren Ilsøe. Speaking with us today in the Owl's Nest is one of the most well-balanced midfielders in the entire competition, known for his aerial proficiency and ability to maintain the AB pressure in that part of the pitch, Mr. Søren Ilsøe. Søren, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I just arrived home from training. I'm all good.
We're going back to match weeks 5 and 6, of course, where you had entered both matches as a substitute at critical points. So in that Vendsyssel encounter, match week 5, you were selected to play a wider role than usual. And that's confirmed by the heat maps, by the way, after you had replaced Spacey Hayleton in the 60th minute when it was 1-1. What were the tasks you knew you had to accomplish in order to efficiently adapt to that match, to that scenario?
It's a good question. I have to think back a little bit, but whatever situation or whatever task that you're given as a player, you're just trying to fit in what role is necessary, and you're trying to do it with like the best ability what you're good at. And one of the key things I have is I always bring a lot of energy. I always bring a lot of communication. So whatever situation I'm in, I always know that if I just do those 2 things, it's very likely that I'm gonna get at least a lot of successful actions, no matter if I'm playing a little bit wider or if I'm playing a very traditional 6. So in that game, I had a different role. But for me, when we have such a clear identity as we do right now, with a clear DNA of what we want to do, it's not really that difficult to go a little wider or go a little higher or lower or whatever you're told to do, because you always know what the main purpose of a pass is. So I know if it goes to this player, I need to get around this position because I know the other player in front of me will get the ball. So it's not really that difficult to have a new role in this team, because it's very, very clear what you need to do from that area, if that makes sense.
That does make perfect sense. And actually, that goes hand in hand with what I was thinking next about asking you, because minutes later, it was 2-1 in favor of Vendsyssel. Next thing you know, 2 minutes later after that, give or take, it was equalized by Jonathan Mattis in the 62nd minute. Right. So I was just wondering, you said communication. You also are one of the wearers of the captain's armband. What's that responsibility like, especially when you are down just for a moment, 2-1?
I think when you're part of something called a leaders group or captain's group or whatever, it's some of those things that you need to love. You need to embrace pressure, especially when you're down. It's in that moments where you look up to the leaders and say, okay, if the leaders stay cool and collected and calm, it generates like a group feeling, of a team feeling, that this is gonna be okay. This is not any unusual circumstance wherein we just 1 goal down. The tactics stay the same, the tasks stay the same. We just need to do it with more focus now, and we need to do it with more intensity because we won down. So in that situation, when I came on the field, it was so okay. We might be down, but we just need to keep on going and doing what we used to do. We just need to do a little harder, a little faster, a little better, a little more all the time, and then eventually the goal will come. It's always like that. It's always like that. And some games it might not, but you just need to stay true to your identity, because that's what you have the feeling of when you're going out for a game. Okay, this game, the luck was just not on our side, but we did the thing and we were staying true to ourselves, and that's when you come out of games with a feeling of okay, this was not our game, but we did the right things. So that's always what we're chasing, that feeling.
We know that all wins are important, but you could also argue
Mhm.
that no two wins are the same, and some stick out more than others. As the vice captain of the roster this season, where does that comeback 3-2 victory against Vendsyssel rank amongst AB's triumphs?
Good question. It's definitely up there, because if you also take into account the amount of travel you have to do to get to that area, it's probably the longest away trip we have. So both being down and getting a comeback in a place that's so far away, so late, and you know you're just gonna be home late and you're gonna be so tired the next day and whatever, it just makes it the win even better. So it's hard to quantify, but the importance of a win like that just generates momentum. It's just how it is as a group. When you come off like that, it just feels a little different. It feels very good. So it's definitely one of the higher moments in our season so far, and we might play them again away if they make the top six. I think they will. So getting another win up there will probably also be ranked pretty high, no matter what.
And on top of that, I think to sweeten the deal, it was AB's first comeback win of the season at that as well. So you mentioned how it generated momentum. Let's talk about then the following match week 6 against Næstved. You also entered that match when it was still a scoreless deadlock, and you reinforced the middle third with various successful duels in the air and on the ground. Would you say your role is normally as defensive as what had occurred in that fixture, considering that you had 5 ball recoveries and had won 5 of 6 total duels in less than a half hour?
So I like to think about like football is a very, very dynamic sport, which means that whatever the situation is asking for, you just need to deliver on that. Some games I'm playing with players who's more offensive minded, and some games I play with players who's more defensive minded. So let's say I'm playing with an offensive player in the midfield who likes to take the ball forward and be offensive. I need to balance it out, and the same is the opposite. So in this game, to advance and get a win in that game, I might have felt that the game needed some more communication, some intensity to win some duels so we could play the ball forward. So whatever the game is asking, that's what we're trying to see and then go through that, if that makes sense. So I can't say if I'm more offensive or defensive because it changed dynamically for every single week we play. Historically, I have played more on the defensive role,
Right.
but if the games is asking for me to do more offensively because I have a teammate who's focused on other stuff or have other capabilities that he's better, we just need to balance it out. So I can't give you a clear answer, say I'm more defensive minded, I'm more offensive minded. The 4-4-2 structure demands a lot from us. It demands us to get on the box, it demands us to come home and defend all of it. So we do what the game is asking us in that current situation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Again, it was a scoreless tie at that point in the game. Eventually, AB ran away with a vital 3-0 win against Næstved. It also marked the first home win of the season for Akademisk Boldcast. So, what was that feeling like finally getting a crucial win at that in Gladsaxe Stadion?
Mm. Yeah, so giving the fans a win is probably one of the most satisfying feelings you can get in football. We have so amazing fans who's coming to support us every single week, who's taking long distance trips in the weekends just to see us play. So whenever they can have a short trip to the stadium, be there and support us, and we can just drive home a victory. That's just an amazing feeling. And whoever you're talking to, that's the feeling we're chasing. Always chasing victory, getting those 3 points, and that nice feeling where you accomplish something for someone, and for something that's even like um, higher than yourself. And ultimately, we're all part of this club. So we all, when we have the jersey on, we are part of a big organization. So 3 points is, it sounds like a little, but it means a lot to a lot of people. So doing it at home in front of a lot of eyes is just absolutely amazing on such a significant stadium. So yeah, that was really a nice momentum shift right there.
And I also want to aggregate again onto what you're saying, that it was against a top three side, at least top three at this moment. It was a very important win as a whole. But now that we've talked about some of the more quote unquote serious topics, let's talk about an alma mater of yours, UConn. The Huskies are expected yet again to light up the March Madness world. So I'm hoping that you keep up a lot with college basketball here. How far do you think the Huskies will make it in the tournament? Elite Eight, Final Four, champions? I want to hear it from you, being an alumnus yourself.
So I am not watching a lot of basketball myself, but I'm a lot into the sport. And when I watch the games, I'm absolutely thrilled to be there. It's absolutely amazing sport, and the games I watched at UConn was just completely amazing. It's really a good school, and doing a lot of good things. So if I had to say now, I've seen the culture of UConn, I've seen the people who works in the organization of the basketball, and I'm not sure about like how talented and how good the roster is this year. But with the coaching staff and with the team, with the things they have going on there, I would be surprised if they don't make it Final Four. So that's my prediction, that they can do the Final Four. There is a thing with of course when you see football as well, when you're a part of a winning organization, it goes into the next generations, if you say, the next couple years. So I do believe that they can make some good stuff happen. So Final Four is not unrealistic, I would say.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. The official words of Vice Captain Søren Ilsøe is that UConn should be making it to the Final Four, but mostly thanks to its very consistent, now that was what you were implying, the very consistent coaching staff of UConn. So let's see if the Huskies make it that far. And now, Søren, I also want to ask you about your player profile as a whole. In your professional career, or even before then, when you were part of the youth system, was there a particular player that you admired for his or her talent, for example, on the field, professionally?
Generally, or just at UConn?
You know what? If you want to throw in a UConn player, you can go ahead. We'll take both. We'll take both.
So if there's a player, there was actually one player who was, I would say, has just a significant amount of talent, which I was always impressed of how he carried himself on the field, and the things he did. It was Anders Dreyer, who is now at San Diego. He's playing the MLS. Actually, I think he's the second highest combined goals and assists. The only player who's above him is Lionel Messi. So the things he's done with his talents is absolutely incredible. And I played with him in Denmark, and it was really amazing to see a player with that caliber. Also being a very grateful, funny, playful person with his feet really planted on the ground. So those type of players who has significant talent just get the most out of it and reach the highest potential they can get is just it's just very inspiring to see. So he's probably up there, Anders Dreyer. Yeah.
Wow. It does make sense that you choose a fellow with whom you're close. He also played, if I remember correctly, in Anderlecht right before he went to San Diego FC, of course, one of the latest teams in Major League Soccer. So it's actually very, very interesting to hear that. I never would have expected that, but a response given like a true vice captain of the squad. We looked at your player profile. And we noticed that you were given the nickname Fire Lake. Is there a specific story behind that?
There is a small story, but it's not really something big. It's I worked before I went to the States. I worked with a colleague who got very very close to, and my name is, if you translate it directly from Danish to English, it's literally fire and lake.
Oh, okay.
And his name was Little Lake, and he made a company called Little Lake. And then I was like, I thought it was just an amazing name. I was like, yeah, man, I wish I could have like one like that. And then he just said, what are you even talking about? Your name is Fire Lake. That's even better. And I never even thought about it. And since that day, I was like, yeah, Fire Lake is not that bad. So some people call me that name, and yeah, I just think it's a funny direct translation. So that's where it comes from.
Okay, well, now we know the origin. It's grown on to you. Now, if I called you that on air, would you be okay with that?
Oh, that would be brilliant. No worries.
Okay, official words. Brilliant. Again, I'm going to have to tell the executives that just in case, just for clarification.
I might need to put it on my AB jersey.
That would be cool. A special limited edition jersey
It would.
that says Fire Lake. That would be pretty cool. And now, as the final question, actually, now that I think about it, is there or are there any words you would like to share with the AB fans sticking with you guys during this journey?
Yeah, I think it's as a player, it's very important because I don't think they get it very often, but to the fans is whatever how small the action is of your support, it's just we're so grateful for that. And I think they have no idea of how much it means. The small gestures that we get sometimes, just a small clap on the shoulders on someone just sticking by to training, or a message from some of the investors overseas. It means way more than we can show you, because there is a lot of fans and they show a lot of appreciation. So it's sometimes it might feel that we don't appreciate it that much, but it's just because it's overwhelming sometimes, the amount of praise and support that we get from the fans. So it's just, we're truly grateful for everything that we get, and every messages, every hugs, every small gestures that we get. So keep that going, and eventually it will come back in even bigger rewards, I would say.
In that case, thank you very much, Søren Ilsøe. You talked about gratitude to your fans. Allow me to extend my gratitude to you. Thank you again for being part of this interview, being the first player whom we've interviewed. This was honestly amazing. Just thank you very much.
Of course, I was happy to be here.
And this rendition of The Owl's Nest has been brought to you by Datum. The secret of every hyperscale cloud is a laundry list of capabilities most builders have never heard of. Datum is on a mission to unlock these internet superpowers and help 1,000 new clouds thrive in the age of AI. Learn more at datum.net. Søren Ilsøe emphasized the importance of maintaining momentum, and that was going to be an indisputable element in the following match weeks. After two contests that closely resembled the standoffs that you would see in a spaghetti western film, Akademisk Boldcast had to go mano a mano with the Danish second division's two defensive powerhouses, the ones that from match week 7 and 8 conceded the least amount of goals in league play. Football Club Roskilde and Hellerup Idrætsklub. These matches would especially test mental strength, but no spoilers here in this episode 3 look ahead, brought to you by Plane. Simple, intelligent, extensible. Plane.so offers modern project management for all teams. Go to plane.so to learn more. This has been Sean Cabrera, and thank you for listening to the Akademisk Boldcast. Ciao, ciao for now. See you in the next one.